You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. If you're a smoker or dipper looking to make a change, you really only need one reason to do it. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you can find many. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch. It's made with only 6 simple ingredients. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Learn more about Zyn and find your reason to make a change by registering online at Zyn.com.
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka and is an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. From tickets to sideline passes and much more, just head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15, 2024 to enter for your chance to win. That's WeDoGameDays.com. Smirnoff, we do game days.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff No. 21 Vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Inc., New York, New York.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Tom Hanks has said something truly shocking. We'll get to that in a moment. Kornhacky continues to get into the brown liquor. He hasn't eaten breakfast either, and that's what he's drinking is real. So Kornhacky is, I know you get confused sometimes. You think it's Jeremy, but you don't know if it's a bit or whether it's Kornhacky and Jeremy's not even there. I know he gets so deep into
I'm truly drinking this alcohol, Dan.
Yeah, I know you are.
There is a resemblance.
And he hasn't had breakfast.
You know, Dan, have you noticed that 11 of the 12 teams in the college football playoff, that's my camera, the 11 of the 12 teams in the college football playoff are from red states? Have you noticed that?
I had not noticed.
You think about that recently, Dan?
We have not broken down college football enough today. Kornhacky, I don't like your attitude.
You don't like my attitude? I don't like your attitude.
Sounds like me on a late Sunday.
How about that?
Late Sunday.
How about that?
Late Tuesday or
Sunday.
Wednesday.
Greg, it sounds like you at 11 p.m. anytime I've called you over the last 25 years.
Listen to the last 10 minutes, which is our Sunday night recap from the Greg Cote show this past week.
How many beers was he in?
Oh, my God. Me and my mom were texting about it on Monday.
She told me, your mother. And Yeti and Christopher on the air are telling me I was drunk on my own podcast.
Yeah, because it was obvious.
It wasn't obvious until I listened to it afterwards.
But in the moment.
In the moment, it
felt great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Paul Simon.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail the show.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Paul Simon's a good one.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
Greg Cote is somebody who and Chris can speak to this. You know what? You recognize it on the phone. Your dad has a distinctive slur that you after 10 p.m. you know whether he's gotten into the 10th beer or not.
I've told him many times on the podcast that a Sunday night football recap when the Dolphins are on the road, scary proposition. When they're at home, he's worked the game, so he's fine. Those road games, and he wrote a column.
Your father's bladder is something that's superhuman. It should be its own superhero.
Sepp Blatter.
Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter is the joke you made, even though
it was
it's
a good one.
Well, but it's Blatter with 2 T's. It's not even
Semantics. I mean, come on.
It's pronounced the same.
Chris, get the president of everyone because that was his most famous.
It's going to hit different today.
Is he still in charge? What's he up to?
I don't think he's in charge anymore. I think he resigned in disgrace, but there's hope for him.
Not in
yet.
disgrace.
His name's Joseph Sepp Blatter. Why wouldn't you go by Joey?
Sepp is,
Joey Bladder?
One,
Yeah.
I like Sepp as a
Joseph.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I like you. You brought me again into the FIFA. I stay with you. You have voted for me. All those they have voted for the Prince Ali. I congratulate you. It's a good candidate. But I'm now the president of everybody. So I'm the president of everybody. There is no reticence. That's just president of the whole FIFA. Voila.
Told you that was going to hit different.
Wow.
Yep.
Voila.
He got married for a 3rd time in 2022.
Voila.
This is Bladder.
Voila.
Your bladder should be a superhero because the regularity with which you drink 10 beers before. I've taken late in life here. I'm not as late in life as you are, and I will not drink much liquid after 6 or 7 p.m. because I don't want to be waking up multiple times to go to the bathroom. I don't understand how you do it. I've never understood how you do it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you exaggerate when you talk about how much beer I drink, but
I don't think I do exaggerate, actually.
You do.
Chris, do I? Because I feel like he's been a prodigious beer drinker for my entire life. That garage, that garage has thousands and thousands of beers that have been consumed.
I will say I don't think he drinks 12 beers every day. Wow. But a lot of days. A lot of days, though.
Most days.
But it takes that to slur. That's about the 10 beer mark is about where your dad's got an amazing ability to throw down beer.
He also doesn't eat. Like on Wednesdays, I become a parent to him, like before we go to bowling, because I know we're going to have a couple buckets. I'm like, did you eat? Like we'll go, like sometimes I'll order food at a restaurant before bowling and order extra food and like feed my dad sliders just to get some food in his system.
Unnecessarily.
Fasting, intermittent fasting.
Yep, yeah. Joe Blatter got married 3 times. Billy is right, but the last time was when he was 86 years old. What's the point of getting married for a third time when you're 86 years old?
There's a cap, right? Like there's a max. Like, look, I love my wife. Let's get out in the front end right now. I'm not falling for this trick again. Another marriage? No, thank you.
Voila.
One and done for me. I hope it works out. If it doesn't, one and done. We don't need another marriage. Mm-hmm. I don't need that.
So you're saying at no age, never mind 86.
I'm definitely not 80. Well, first, not to be morbid, I don't know that I'm getting to 86. Okay, I drink a lot of Coca-Cola, so
look what's gotten to 70 drinking 10 beers a day.
Hello.
By the way, 'tis the season. Coke cans have Santa Claus on them again. And I had a marketing idea.
Saying Christmas again.
I had a marketing idea for Coca-Cola, and I don't think that they're going to take it. But if they do, like, they can have this one for free because I think that it's fun. I feel like Diet Coke or Coke Zero, sexy Santa, right? You put in a Santa Claus there with abs or whatever, shirt off, sexy Santa on the Diet or the Coke Zero. And then this is the one that's healthy for you.
Like that new Santa movie where J.K. Simmons plays Santa?
I'm excited about that movie. I think I want to see
Dwayne
it.
Johnson, isn't it? That's like, I saw this the other day, and I walked through the theater, and I saw this the other day. I'm like, really? Dwayne Johnson and J.K. Simmons?
That's the one that they wrote the Vanity Fair piece on, where The Rock being late made that budget swell over $200 million.
What's it called? Like Red Santa or Red Christmas?
Red One.
They're playing this game now where they just throw the word red at things, and like every action movie has the word,
big.
Bad name for a movie, though.
That wins big today.
Bigly.
Do you guys feel ridiculous at all discussing today Joel Embiid's 3-game suspension? Like things like that. Do you?
Yeah, I do. Do you want to talk about it? You threw it out there. I mean, he put his hands on it.
I just don't know. I honestly don't know. We've been fooling around a lot for the 2 hours, and I know that people expect a reprieve from me and from this show, and very often don't want at all what we give you politically around here, would prefer none of it to be anywhere around what it is that we're doing. And I have been, over the last few years, willing to pay the tax on a lot of people, especially in Miami, wandering away from whatever their lifelong loyalties have been because they don't find me to be representative of what the politics of Miami are now more than I've ever seen, as my people have spoken very loudly and chosen a candidate that I view as dangerously anti-freedom. The only kind of freedom that I believe that Trump cares about is keeping himself out of jail, and now he has done it successfully in a way that leaves me feeling very alone in my own city and surrounded in my own city. So I don't know the tone to take on today, even though we've been fooling around plenty, because I am legitimately saddened. I'm wounded by what has happened today and last night in this country, that so many people think that that's a solution to their problems.
And no one thinks Vanderbilt is any good.
Yeah.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike. It's football season. It's November. The leaves are turning colors and the pads are popping. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineup, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked way back in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both the great taste and the fact that it is less filling. Because Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips everything away that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. Holds on to it the way that you'd hold on to a football for ball security high and tight, or the way that you hold on to that beautiful white can on the outside. With the temperature dipping, you don't even need a koozie anymore. How sweet is that? Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Dan Le Batard.
A woman who was out swimming with her friends is believed to have been swallowed whole by a 13-foot shark without any of her friends noticing. That's the weirdest part about that story. You're swimming with friends, you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, people are looking around going, where's Shelly? Like, nobody screamed?
Every friend group has a Shelly, though, that if they go missing because a shark ate them whole, you wouldn't notice.
Classic Shelly.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Stugotz.
She went quietly, apparently. If I'm swallowed whole by a shark, you're going to know it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Speaking of Joel Embiid,
He put his hands on a journalist, so you can't establish a precedent where that goes with impunity, no matter how gratuitous. And I appreciated Jamel's perspective on this, and Bomani did some stuff on there. It felt extra gratuitous. So I understand Joel Embiid having a problem with it, having not been privy to that locker room and what is the general understanding is as to what third rail topics are regarding that player. But he certainly took offense, but you can't be putting your hands on somebody.
A 3-game suspension doesn't sound as bad. Like, they could give him the exact same punishment and phrase it differently. It's $1 million fine is what he got, which sounds a lot more extreme than a 3-game suspension because his salary, the 3 games, is going to be over $1 million. And by the way, and like, I don't want to poke the bear here, but like, probably going to play those 3 games anyway. So, like, the suspension is not really a punishment. It's the $1 million fine that he's getting. And if you I wouldn't have suspended him to 3 games. I would have said, like, hey, you got $1 million fine for, putting your hands on a journalist. And then I think that adds to the severity of it, and you kind of send the message.
You should make him play the 3 games. That adds to the severity of it. But
that should be the punishment.
Get a little calf strain. Here's 3 games.
I love that.
Enjoy your calf strain.
You have to play.
Put it on the poll. Should Joel Embiid's punishment be that he has to play the 3 games?
Because that will quickly turn into 15 games.
Yeah, and 48 minutes each night, by the way. But in all seriousness, I think the degree of the altercation matters. Now, I don't. Is there a video of it? Because I haven't seen it.
There hasn't been video.
Oh, if there were video, it would be all the worse. Because generally speaking, when we see athletes put their hands on anybody, or when we see video of anything that you've read about tends to get worse.
I mean, that guy, though, he's 7 feet tall, and he's putting his hands on a reporter.
But I do think there's a difference, though, between somebody, poking me with an index finger and somebody shoving me where I lose my balance.
It was reported as shoving no punch. Shoving no punch is how it was reported.
I'm with my dad, though. Like, was it a poke in the why?
It's a big difference.
Why'd you bring that in there? Because if that's what it was, I'm kind of with you.
Because I don't know.
I don't think of a shove with a finger.
Can you shove someone with a finger?
Yeah. Well, you can, but I don't think. Well, if Joel does it to a reporter with a finger, the reporter probably moves off his stance, right?
Physically off of his stance, or off of his
if he did it to a teammate, off his stance is what I'm talking about.
Joel Embiid is very strong, yes, but I don't think we're talking about a finger here. A single finger.
Maybe 2.
Yeah, what about 2?
2 fingers can do
like a solid.
Have you not
index middle?
Have you not seen Joel Embiid play? If you lay a finger on him, he goes flying. So he knows exactly how powerful that can be.
The idea that it would be over the line, I don't believe is up for dispute, but I also believe the line on cruelty has just generally moved, right? So while Bomani and Jamel are longing for a different time and whatever it is locker room decorum, I don't know that Joel Embiid or the league is making any distinction between this is a reporter from a serious newspaper outlet that has mainstream credibility, or this is a blogger who says mean things about me, who also has locker room access on certain occasions under a different set of media rules as to what's allowed in the locker room. I know this has been a very difficult thing for old school public relations people to handle in a new changing journalistic market.
Who's who?
Well, who is who and what's allowed on decorum and decency, because the journalism standard, has always been you don't do this particular personal thing to a Joel Embiid unless you're like Skip Bayless or Jay Mariotti, who doesn't actually then go into the locker room after doing that, so doesn't risk the confrontation, because that used to be something that journalists had to go in there and account for what it is that they had written.
Give the person credit for going in there. I mean,
well, but
terrible
there are a lot of people, the way that the discourse around this has hardened, it's not just First Take, it's not just sports radio. The internet is cruel.
Yeah.
The line has moved on what is the common decency that Joel Embiid deserves to be treated with. You're not a traditional journalist. You come from a front office, old-timey front office place where this would have never happened.
What's this that would have never happened?
That the columnist wouldn't write this about the family, and then what would happen after that would not be the reporter putting the hands on the columnist.
So let's start with the columnist, Marcus Hayes. He's not a young puppy. This guy has been in that market for a long time. You mentioned Jay Mariotti. You mentioned Skip Bayless. Peter Vesey would be another one. There have been these columnists since the beginning of time. Guys who were rabble-rousers, a little bit prickly, a little poking, and crossing lines at times. You mentioned those guys wouldn't have been in the locker room afterwards. As I understand it, because Joel was so upset by this, Sixers PR, I think, did the right thing. They said, hey, let's get these people together and clear this out. Because afterward, he wrote another column, by the way, where and I don't know if you guys talked about this with Jamel. First of all, the line where he said all that stuff, he had removed it because of the public backlash. Well before seeing Embiid in that locker room. Because of the public backlash, he removed that line, that lead out of his column. So then he wrote another one a few days later saying that Embiid let the city down. And that's where Embiid in the press conference says this Marcus whoever guy talking about let the city down, and he starts listing all the injuries and all that stuff. So clearly this thing with Marcus Hayes had bothered Embiid. PR had sought to bring them together. I don't think it was meant to be in the locker room. I think the guy went into the locker room not expecting to see Embiid, and Embiid starts yelling at him about stuff, and like Jamel said, that's normal, dude. Every person I know who's been a beat writer or a columnist has had that experience of an athlete yelling at them, right? So it seems like Embiid just wanted to get it off his chest. The line that seemed to set it off to cross over from just yelling at him to shoving him was Embiid saying, I don't care about reporters say anyway. And Marcus Hayes, in a moment where he could have diffused the situation.
Clearly you do care.
And by the way, hell of a line. Look, hey man,
good line.
That's a great line, and it's because it's true. It's true. We wouldn't be here if you didn't care what reporters say. Not saying that what Marcus wrote was appropriate or that Joel was wrong to be angered or upset by it. I'm just saying you can't then say, I don't care what anyone says, because if you didn't care, I wouldn't even be here. So Marcus,
but that's what got him shoved.
That's the escalation, yes. That's what got him shoved. I don't think Embiid had the idea that when I see this dude, I'm going to smack him or anything like that. I don't think he had that thought in his head. But you're already upset. It's heightened. And then this dude basically taunts you. At that point, he kind of lost control.
I think two things are worth noting. One, if you're a columnist, this is not bad for business, being on the the end of,
Oh,
an
man.
Zion shoe
altercation.
situation?
Oh,
This is
man.
not
Certainly.
bad for business.
If he continues covering that team in that locker room and doesn't turn this into something else, isn't it bad for business? Because
It depends on how he handles
Greg,
it.
Hear Greg out. Hold
Greg,
on a second.
I will hear him out, but the currency can't be so cheap that
Dog.
it doesn't matter how you get the attention. All that matters is you get the attention.
It's that cheap these days.
But my
Dan.
immediate rebuttal is, hasn't he just made his job a lot more difficult
Yes,
on
he
himself?
has. But the controversy is not a bad thing if you're a columnist. Okay, it can be good for business, good for the brand, depending on what you want your brand to be. The other point I would make is that nowadays, where the old school journalist is less and less, and the quasi journalist, the blogger, whatever, who's there, he might love this. He might want to instigate it. It is good for some business.
Okay.
If you're the guy who is getting the viral story because of this.
Okay, but so may I, though? Do you guys not understand how this becomes provocative for the sake of provoking? Like how it is that it's just gratuitous if this is how we're going to do it. And don't make it just some blogger. Let's make it, there's all sorts of new media out there, all sorts of new media doing it well in a democratic meritocracy landscape. I'm happy that all sorts of new media is allowed in the locker room, but there has to be a standard on, you can't just go in there to provoke someone so that you can get the provoking reaction and then that's good for business. That's not a good way for anybody to do this.
Dan, you keep saying new media. This guy's not new media.
I know, but I'm just talking about a lowered, yet forgive me. Okay. He's reacting to an old-time columnist, but I'm reacting to a general reduction of a standard that now involves players pushing journalists when that's not what it used to be. That's awfully rare. An athlete putting their hands on a journalist.
Sure, yes, that's rare. Sorry, Greg. That's rare. Of course, crossing that line is rare, but when like we have to take into account the facts. The facts is this guy was legacy media, Philadelphia Inquirer, the number one paper. This guy's a columnist, and a columnist who's been writing for a very long time. I just told Mike he was writing articles like this about Allen Iverson. So this isn't like, hey, this is where the media is going. People are being rabble-rousers. Let me try my hand at this. This is a guy who's, like I said, the Jay Mariotti, the Skip Bayless, the Peter Vesey provocateur role is not something new to this guy, right? The question is, what is the impact, right? Because the impact, I talked about this on Vinny Goodwill's podcast, right? The impact is this, the polarization of media, where it's either, hey, I'm going to be a provocateur and talk shit and get a rise out of people. And Greg's right, it pays the bills. It absolutely, that's your brand, it pays the bills.
He's right. I mean, but this, forgive me, because this is the part where it is that I'm objecting. You're right that this is old media, but do you realize that what Greg is voicing there, it's the only way for old media to keep up?
To stay relevant.
If the standard that he's describing is the columnist has to provoke, that's good for business. It's all that's left for the columnist that we've reduced the standard so much.
Not to put words in Greg's mouth, but Greg said if it's good for the brand. That guy's brand, yes. If you're a different columnist, not so much. But the problem is the polarization, because on the one hand you got this, on the other hand you've got glad-handing. Everything is awesome. You're the best ever. Oh, nothing wrong. Like it's the chuckle fest, right? It is, and so not objective in any way. Nothing's wrong. Nothing to see here. And so these are the two kind of see a lot, especially for younger media people, right? The old guard or whatever. But the people who are breaking in, they're either I got to talk shit and get a reaction, or I got to be everybody's friend and it's not his fault. And there's just a void of just objective reporting, objective opinion work. And when it does happen, oftentimes it's misconstrued by these subjects that, it's another provocateur. Like, no, sometimes they're saying something that's actually true.
I need to make clear that the column in this case provoked Embiid because it referred to a brother who had passed away, right? Joel Embiid
and his son. He made it personal by bringing family into it.
Okay, and that's a line. that was crossed, and that is something that something has to be sacrosanct. And for me, I'm never going to write a critical column on an athlete that uses as some sort of an excuse the fact that he has been through this personal tragedy.
I'm going to let this go after this, but I want to ask you guys as it relates to where it is that we draw these lines. It's subjective for everyone, and I would say in the coarsening of the general discourse and where it is that the athlete has less humanity than he used to have, even as perhaps young fawning media applauds Joel Embiid and he's grown up in a different sort of social media age where he gets the extremes. It's either calling him all sorts of names or just universal "you're famous" applause because he is a social media athlete. He enjoys the villainy. He's been uncommonly comfortable sort of going back and forth with people because he doesn't mind going into Madison Square Garden as a villain. The thing that I'm finding strangest about this is go ahead and tell me all the other times you guys have. You'll be able to find certain examples, but you won't have many of an athlete putting their hands on a journalist and getting $1 million fine because they physically handled a journalist.
Jim Rome, Chris Everett. He kept going, Chris Everett. That's one of the most. He did it on TV. It wasn't even where their cameras rolling. We were on television. We were watching it, and it happened. So that's the number one example.
Helped his career. I mean, big time.
Absolutely, because, again, that was his brand.
Yep.
Dan, I think the more concerning thing to me is the number of people who are saying, I can't believe Joel Embiid got punished. I'm like, what? Like, even Joel said, as he's yelling at this dude, I don't care what the consequences are. Meaning, if I cross that line, I do it willingly and full knowledge of what's going to happen to me. And for people to say after that, I don't think he should have got suspended or anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's the part where people see like a carte blanche. Well, he said something about his brother. That's not an acceptable response. Violence is not an acceptable response other than violence being beget upon you.
But that's not for you to decide. That's for Joel Embiid to decide.
No.
I mean,
violence is not.
No, he said, I'm willing to take the fine. I'm willing to take the penalty. I'm going to push this guy.
Stugotz, we're speaking the same language. Yes, you're right. I'm going to take the fine. I'm going to take the suspension, the penalty. I'm talking about people saying, I can't believe he got penalized.
Right.
The place that I would just stop you guys on is there shouldn't be a different standard for professionalism for Joel Embiid than there is for the journalist. It can't be good line in the locker room when you've escalated something to provoking Joel Embiid. I'm fine for both of them being held to a professional standard, but it can't be good for somebody's business and bad for somebody else's when the journalist is in there stirring up the provocation. Like, the standard of professionalism has to be the same for both of them.
Absolutely.
I agree.
But it's kind of a byproduct, right? That like Greg said, that this might be his most read column ever. It's not. I don't believe that.
You only make it worse when you make it that. Forgive me again for putting new media in here, but when I make sports debate television that, and when I make the old columnists like Cody, how are you going to keep up with the young people? How are you going to keep up with the diminished standard on professionalism that makes it okay to provoke Joel Embiid, makes it okay to have a good line in a locker room where Joel Embiid is already emotional and escalated, and we're trafficking in dead brother stuff? Like, it's not just provocation, it's this deeply personal a provocation.
I'm curious, Greg, what was the closest you felt like an athlete was going to put hands on you because of something that you wrote?
When I covered the Dolphins full time in the early 90s for a couple of years, there was a post-game altercation on the road somewhere, I don't even remember where it was, where a linebacker started yelling at me, and it never came to fisticuffs because the PR guy at the time was very diligent and right there. But it happens occasionally.
I'm picturing Brian Cox.
That's
terrifying.
exactly who I was thinking.
It's a possibility.
Well, you kept the name out for some reason. You didn't mention the name.
Yeah, it's been 30 years ago. I could say a name, but I would only be about 80% sure I was right.
You forgot.
But the point is, it happened.
Logan Roy almost hit him?
You forgot the name of who it was?
Yeah, it's not that uncommon.
30 years ago.
Did he have the neck guard on during the altercation?
Were you ready to go? Like what? Like
you said it didn't come to fisticuffs.
But had it come
to fisticuffs? It wouldn't have been your fisticuffs.
Were you saying hold me back?
Yelling. It was a loud.
You're like, hold me back.
Greg Cote.
Did you yell back?
Look, in this case, if Marcus Hayes shoves Joel Embiid, Marcus Hayes' employer is going to suspend him. Okay? There was an Indianapolis reporter who got into a cheeky exchange with Caitlin Clark. He was suspended for a short time and then banned from covering that team for a short time. There are consequences on both sides, and you're entirely right. It can't just be the athlete who's penalized. The journalist has to be held to his standard as well.
Fisticuffs involve the fists of you and others, right? When you describe something as fisticuffs, it means that the linebacker was involving his fists and your fists, correct?
I've got Hal Habib holding my dad back.
If I used fisticuffs, I misspoke. It was him yelling at me.
Okay, but only
you felt like it was close.
Did anyone have to step in?
Only he. Yes, he says that, but
Did
only
you take a step forward?
No, I don't remember.
Neutral? Like you just didn't move?
Greg, he doesn't remember
Can't remember the name.
Greg, listen to me. It's 30 years later. You said, I stepped up.
Yeah.
I stepped up and said, go ahead. I'll even let you get the first shot.
I dared him. Yeah.
I think, can you look this up? I believe that I've had asked this question before, that Will McDonough in the Patriots locker room did hit a defensive back and left him crumpled in a clothing hamper.
You have to cut that guy right after, right?
I'm pretty sure you can find me the details of the fight where the reporter actually won the fight in the Patriots locker room.
I'm going to text Ryan McDonough right now, and I'm going to ask him, did your dad punch a linebacker in the locker room?
A defensive back.
1979, he did indeed do it. It was Raymond Claiborne.
Wow.
So Greg Cote can't remember. Will McDonough certainly remembers that from 1979.
Will McDonough's not with us anymore.
The late Will McDonough, I get $50 from somebody for keeping him alive even though he's dead. No, I get.
Is that how we're doing it now? Really?
I like that. Yes.
Abraham keeping Lincoln. Him alive.
But in that locker room in 1979, Will McDonough remembered when he was alive punching Raymond Claiborne. Greg Cote does not remember the linebacker. I remember when a physical confrontation in a locker room scared me. I remember the participants. I shouldn't have been laughing. I remember all the details of being in a Denver Broncos locker in the Denver Broncos Dolphin locker room at a Broncos game in Denver because I was that scared of laughing at an inappropriate time, and O.J. McDuffie was furious about it.
Wow. Wait, okay, so give us details. Give us context.
No,
here.
I was just scared because he was escalated, and I did think it was going to escalate to him being physical, not me being physical.
Fisticuffs?
No, fisticuffs have to involve both parties. I don't think it's fisticuffs if it's only one person's fist.
So he was yelling at you?
Yes.
For something that you wrote?
For laughing in the locker room after a loss.
That's it? You walked in the locker room, they lost, they're morose, you had a chuckle, and he was like, how dare you laugh in here?
Mm-hmm. Well, he was mad about other things I'd also written.
Stacking.
But yes, that was the moment that got him angriest, is that in the middle of how much they cared, I was being careless.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Dan, you know what you were missing right there? A great line like Marcus Hayes. If you had one of those, mwah.
Yeah.
I believe I was also mouthy in that circumstance.
Oh,
really?
Okay, what'd you say? What was your line?
Wow.
I don't remember the line, but I shouldn't have. I was
Greg Cote?
I wasn't happy with him telling me how to behave in his locker room.
Now, in fairness to Will McDonough, Claiborne had this coming because Claiborne poked Will McDonough in the eye first.
Wow. One finger or two?
And then he leveled him. One. I believe it was one. An index finger.
Should have done this move.
And he was snapping and bumping into a bunch of writers. So Will McDonough kind of was just like, hey, there's no need for that. And then he got poked in the face and he reacted through 2 punches and he ended up in a laundry cart.
Stanley Morgan.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Dan.
Great receiver, by the way.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
When you say you were mouthy, did you say something along the lines of, he says, hey, stop laughing, like, hey, I didn't get my ass beat out there. Did you say something like that?
I don't think it was. I don't remember the details. I just claim that I remembered all of the details while not
fights
remembering.
are you guys getting into that you don't remember the details of athletes getting into fights with you?
I didn't remember my retort. I'm remembering who was mad and why he was mad, and it was not somebody that I wish to be trifling with because I've told the story before when he was fighting with 320-pound Daryl Gardner, who nobody fought with. He went to his car to go get a gun in the practice facility parking lot. Well, it's not someone I wanted angry at me.
To be fair, Dan, they were on the road, so I don't think he could have gotten a gun.
Thank you for that fairness.
It was important.
Not how I was thinking at the time.
But that's right. John Morant had his gun in Denver. That's right. Never mind, Dan. You did the right thing.
You guys made the one finger push of Joel Embiid a shove, but the one finger poke of Raymond Claiborne a Three Stooges
To the
move.
eye is totally different, man. It is. I mean, it hurts.
You don't poke the eye.
You guys made it a Three Stooges move of poking him in the eye.
Roddy Piper would do it with the thumb, and it'd be it would stage his comeback. He'd initiate tons of offense off of that one move.
Stugotz here for LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As Meadowlark Media continues to grow as a content studio, we strive to hire only the best and most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they have made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So, if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/PREP to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Folks, the NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards? Who's grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. My mouth is salivating at that deal. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
Don Le Batard. You owe me everything. You owe me everything.
You have added 10 years to my career.
Yes, I have.
This man has. You haven't.
That man.
Who the hell are you?
Stugotz. I am.
Who the hell are
should be
you?
thanking
Bullshit.
Me.
You're a rude young man.
You're a fool.
You're a
fool.
I already called you a fool.
You're a fool right
You can't
back.
call me a fool.
You're an idiot again.
It's a fool
You're
off.
an idiot twice. You're an idiot for dismissing how much I've helped you. This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Do you flop if you get poked by Joel Embiid?
1,000%. What
Right?
do you think?
Yes.
Early retirement.
I show up the next day to the practice facility with one of those neck braces.
Yeah.
and
Same.
And a lawyer.
I'm with you.
Yep.
I will get to the shocking thing that Tom Hanks has said in a moment, but let's check in with a despondent and kind of drunk Kornhacky here. What do you have for us as an update on a bit that has gone awry that was supposed to be fun today that is instead sopping in alcohol and depression?
Well, before I bring Steve Kornhacky back in here, Dan, just Jeremy here for a second. You're sure you don't want to have a conversation about how the Electoral College is essentially a form of voter suppression because it forces the Democrats to go more right, leaving Democrats unmotivated to show up and thus tens of millions of voters not showing up to vote in this election, or how Latin men swung so far to the right and thus impacted this election, including here in Miami-Dade County because they were motivated by misogyny and racism? No? All right, Steve Kornhacky is back. So we want to have, this is right here.
Penalty, 2 minutes, rambling.
All right, Jeremy will go to the penalty box in just a second. We're gonna have this is Lattimore country right here.
Get out of here.
And then they're really making moves in the middle of the country right here. And over here on the West Coast, they think they're fine. So if you look at it, we can just FML.
Major penalty on the ice, 5 minutes for rambling.
It was up in that mark.
I wasn't rambling. It was everything's fine with me. I'm doing fine. You're not fine. You're bad. You're not doing okay. Everything's bad with you. Well, it's fine.
I know he's off because he would have done wordplay with awry.
Billy, do you have a bet the house this week? It's still undefeated, and it's as close as I wish to come to politics the remainder of the show. Can we do
forever?
A bet the house? No, just today.
Oh,
just
dude.
Today.
Man.
Forever?
Come on.
You wanted to
We
do
get the
forever?
So close, Mike.
Let's get the message. What do you say?
You want to do forever?
Let's just, come on. Bunch of dudes hanging out, talking sports.
So many dudes.
And I don't know if you watched last night, but we're in charge now.
Yeah, dudes are in charge. Yeah. That is what happened.
Men.
That's not the chant for today.
I didn't know about that.
Really?
Let's not do
we
that.
could squeeze in a reproductive rights, but that seems popular still.
Boo men. What is the Bet the House imaging that we have this week? I bet the house remains undefeated somehow.
I'm a little nervous about this one, if I'm going to be honest with you. We have one for next week, and then we realized, it's a bye week, so it's next week, not this week.
What are you nervous about? That you're going to not be undefeated anymore?
Yeah, it's 3-0 right now, Bet the House, so this is a big game, and, it's a time that you reach out to friends, and you say, hey, can you help us out here? Because we looked at the calendar wrong, and some other people didn't get back to us as we were expecting. So we thought we had a big fish on the hook for this one.
Wow.
We thought we had the Speaker of the House from the state of Utah, but that didn't end up panning out. So.
All right, so what did pan out?
What a sell.
What did pan out?
Fish,
okay,
man.
so we almost got the Speaker of the House from Utah.
We got canceled on?
Okay.
Did you watch what happened on the Daily Show? You know how I knew everything was going sideways last night? Fetterman canceled on Jon Stewart 30 seconds before his hit.
We also got left on red by who I described as a dream guest for this segment, George Santos.
All right, let's see what we've got here.
It's time to bet. The House Senate of Representatives. Bet the Senate. Bet the Senate. Bet the Senate. Representative in the city of Representatives. Bet the Senate. The House of Representatives. Bet the Senate. This week's guest from the great state of Vermont, friend of the show, Senator Peter Well. We got a big one this weekend with championship implications in the Patriot League. It's the Holy Cross Crusaders and the Lehigh Mountain Hawks. Peter Welch, who you got?
Well, I don't stray outside of the East, so for me it's Holy Cross.
This is not a good use
Patriot
of anybody's
League.
time.
The Crusaders.
Wait till next week, Dan. Big get.
Oh, really?
Billy has said with a straight face to my face that he is never trying to annoy me.
That's true.
It's not true.
It is true.
Billy,
I'm trying to have
you were
fun.
under the blankets
If it annoys you, what are
in
we
your
gonna do?
house, when you were under the blankets, fearing that you were waking up your family, just making all sorts of noises into your computer equipment, it is not because you weren't hell-bent on annoying me.
Why would that annoy you? I'm just trying to. I feel like the country needs us today and want to smile, so I'm trying to deliver some smiles.
Just
like for example,
inefficient. Can't they be efficient smiles?
Dan, if you go outside and you get sunburned, the sun didn't wake up to a sunburn you. You know what I mean? Like you just got sunburned. Like I'm not waking up to annoy you. I'm waking up to bet the House Senate of Representatives.
So it's on Dan.
I'm not saying that. I'm just
Tom Hanks has said that the worst age to be is 35 years old. And I think it might be the best age to be. Like, I think more people
Well, it's not the
would vote.
best age to be.
I think more people.
He has good rationale here.
All right,
Dan.
let's hear what Tom Hanks has to say.
You see this cool technology where you de-age. Was there an age where you're like, damn it, I'm good with this. Take me right here. Take me back.
No, look, I'm 68 years old. The hardest for us was when we were playing 35. That time where your metabolism stops, gravity starts tearing you down, your bones start wearing off. You stand differently. I think I'm in better shape now.
You look great. I was going to say
because
good.
You know why? Because my kids are grown up, I'm getting decent exercise, and I can eat right. You can't do that when you're 35. Life is such a burden.
Everybody needs to get on your plan right now.
Dude, I'm just doing what my 68 years old type 2 diabetes, just maintaining the temple, baby. That's all I'm trying to do.
Maintain the temple.
He's so right. My back hurts. My ankle hurts. I mean, I feel like the eating unhealthy, that's just on me. I'm not going to blame 35 for that, but he was speaking to me there.
What an ass kisser of an interviewer.
I mean, that's a terrible age that he's nominating for the worst age. Don't you believe? Put it on the poll, Juju, at Batard Show.
Is that Kevin Frazier?
35 years old. 35 years old. Best age
regrets that.
Or worst age, 35 years old. I don't feel like anybody listening to this thinks that's the worst age.
It was pretty bad, if you remember. Well, I remember when I was 35. Not a great time. Come to think of it, 39's kind of shitty.
Yeah, but Dan has never had kids. I mean, that's what Tom Hanks is talking about is you can't eat healthy because you're just eating whatever you give your kids. Like, it is a tough age, yeah.
It is
tough.
Yes.
I saw the beginning of Tom Papa's most recent stand-up special, and all he's talking about is how thrilling it is to get the kids the hell out of the house and no longer have the responsibility and have a martini at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because you can.
Counting down the days, Dan.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike. It's football season. It's November. The leaves are turning colors and the pads are popping. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineup, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked way back in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both the great taste and the fact that it is less filling. Because Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips everything away that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. Holds on to it the way that you'd hold on to a football for ball security high and tight, or the way that you hold on to that beautiful white can on the outside. With the temperature dipping, you don't even need a koozie anymore. How sweet is that? Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As Meadowlark Media continues to grow as a content studio, we strive to hire only the best and most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they've made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/prep to to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.